Welcome to Passion and Profit. If you're a small business owner or solo entrepreneur, this episode is for you. It would not only help you achieve your business goals, but it will also help you enjoy the process. Let's get started.
That's what encourages me to keep being very open in my communication, to keep showing up in my business and recognizing this isn't as selfish as it feels. Because at the end of the day, I know that I'm going to be leaving my day job and I'm going to make something amazing. I'm going to have such a successful business. I'm going to do all the things that I want to do. And I'm going to create a life that not only I love, but that my family loves.
Passion and Profit with your host, Delmith Morales, the podcast for makers and manufacturers. Welcome to another episode. I'm so happy to have you here with us again. I'm your host, Delmith. This podcast, remember, that is created by Inventora, the all-in-one inventory system for makers and manufacturers. Today, we have Krystal with us again. We are so excited. We had two episodes already recorded with her, and they were amazing. And this one is our last one. And for me, honestly, it's a really good one. We're going to be talking about mompreneurship, reframing your perspective to decrease the mom guilt and increase your impact. I think, Krystal, I know that you're a mom of 2 and soon 3. And I know that you have a lot of experience in this area. And most part of small business owners that are having kids also struggle with the mom guilt, right? So I think this episode is going to be very helpful for them and for everyone that wants to learn how to juggle the mom and the small business owner thing, right? So thank you so much for being with us again. We're so happy to have you here.
Absolutely. Thank you, as always, for having me. I always love chatting with you. And the whole mompreneurship thing and dealing with mom guilt, it's a topic that I'm very passionate about because obviously I've lived through it. I continue to live through it. I don't think the mom guilt ever really goes away. But it really is, in a nutshell, my mission to just remind other women, especially moms, that they are not only capable, but so worthy of creating lives that they love, even if that means them stepping into a role that means more than just mom.
Yeah. So if you're a mom and you are struggling with that, please keep listening because I know that it is going to be very helpful for you to understand how to deal with all of that, right? So can you give us like a brief background? I know that I already said that you're a mom of 3, but we would love to know your story behind all of this.
Absolutely. So if we're taking it way back, I always knew that I was going to be an entrepreneur, but I also always knew that I was going to be a mom. Like that was the one thing that I was like, I cannot wait till I'm a mom. I know it's going to happen for me. I'm so excited for that day. I feel like I do have a very motherly personality for the most part. And it's that motherly intuition. So I just knew it was going to happen for me. And of course, as every mother goes through it, when I had my firstborn in 2018, oh my gosh, 2018, it was a huge transition for me. At the time, I was working a regular day job, and I was also kind of doing some creative things on the side. I used to sell jewelry, and I still did that, just very so often. That was kind of relieving my entrepreneurial itch at the time, right? To just do that here and there. Then I had my daughter. And of course, all of my time was being poured into her. And I'm so grateful to have had the opportunity to stay with her at home for a whole year, which was amazing. But as we all go through it, I felt like I was kind of like I lost myself in the process. Even though I always knew I wanted to be a mom, or I always knew I was going to be a mom and I always wanted to be a mom, I felt like I was starting to be missed from the picture. Like, where was that person that I was pre-baby? And I was trying to figure out how to get my way back to that. And it's a tricky place to be, and it's a hard place to be in mentally, because you feel like, why would you want to remove yourself from that place, right? Why would you want to go back to who you were pre-baby? Like, you're a mom now. You should be so grateful. This is who you are. Excuse me. But that's not all who you are, right? That's not the only thing that you are. You can be a mom, a really phenomenal mom, and also be more than just a mom. And it took me a while to get to that point where I could say that and to feel comfortable saying that and actually believe it, right? So part of my journey was, I've always been a creative person ever since I was a child. So I started doing some DIY things again, and that was my way of getting back to who I was, finding who I was again. And it really worked well with being a mom, because I was doing all these DIY things for her, right? For like birthday parties and whatever. And I was like, okay, this feels good to be able to set time aside for myself, to be creative, to do something with my hands. But at the same time, it's still for her, so I don't feel like wholly guilty for doing it. And then I kind of took it the next step, and I started a YouTube channel where I was uploading these DIYs. And again, it felt like, okay, like now I'm taking control of something again. Like it felt like it was again relieving my entrepreneurial itch, because I had control of something and I was doing something that I wanted to do, and I was able to post videos and whatever, and really like focus on like how I was going to build my channel. And it felt really great. But again, it's tricky. And when the idea of Book of Bijou came into place, I was now a mother of 2. And I really had to be cognizant of everything that could potentially change now that I was at this point in my life where I was contemplating diving headfirst into launching an actual business, right? This wasn't just like a part-time side hustle that I was doing for fun to relieve my entrepreneurial itch. This is what I could actually envision myself doing as a career. And it was a real interesting place to be in mentally, to think about what that would look like and how, if at all, it could coincide with motherhood, right? Because when you're jumping into a business, like, how they say you leave your 9 to 5 because you don't want to work 9 to 5 anymore. But then once you're an entrepreneur, you're working like crazy. I already knew that was going to be the case. And I had to be okay with making the time to step away from my daughters, my family, to pursue the business. And it was hard for me. And there are still times where it, continues to be hard, where I feel a little bit guilty. But over the past few years, I've been able to kind of navigate it in a way that feels good for kind of everyone, so that my children understand why I'm stepping away from them. And it's not because, oh, mommy doesn't want to play with us, she just wants to work all the time, which was, of course, my fear. Like, I don't want them to feel that way. I want them to know that they are always going to be my priority, that I love them, that I love spending time with them. But they now understand what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, as much as a 3 and 5-year-olds can. And the guilt is starting to dissipate a little bit more and more. Like I said, it doesn't always go away, but you find ways to start feeling really good about the decision that you made to take the leap. And I think it's a process to get there, but once you do get there, everything starts really aligning. And a lot of it has to do with communication with your kids, communication with your partner, and also the way that you're talking to yourself, right? You can't let those thoughts creep in like, you're a bad mom if you're stepping away to do this. For me, I look at my business as a form of self-love, because it is something that I'm truly passionate about. Excuse me. It truly does fill my cup to be surrounded by other women, to be creative, to put myself out there, to share my story. Like, it's invigorating to me. It really energizes me. Whereas my day job And sometimes the children can kind of drain me and drain my energy. So me being able to step aside, carve that time out for myself and refill my cup actually makes me a better mother. You don't have to be present every second, every hour of the day to be the best mom you can be. In fact, I think it's really the opposite. You need to have something in your life that is not mom related, that is for you, that makes you feel really good, aside from motherhood, that can refuel you. And then you can come back and be more grateful, be more patient, be all of those things that you want to be as a mom and really excel in both worlds. So I think I started getting carried away there, but that is my background.
No, I think that was the perfect start. I don't know if anyone knows, but I'm also going to be a mom. And this has been something that has been in my mind so much because it's something that you don't, like you said, the mom guilt. For me, it was like, it is like not my baby. I'm for sure, I'm 100% sure that I'm gonna love him and I want to be with him 100%. But then you start thinking, okay, but that's not my entire work, right? I also need to do things that can make me feel more with more energy to for my baby, right? And I remember I talked with a friend like a couple of months ago, and she was telling me, for me, I started working again, and it was so good for me to say, okay, right now I'm working. I'm not going to think about the baby. Like, of course, you're gonna be like aware of it, right? But you're going to be focusing on something else. And then when you go back to your house or you close your laptop or something like that, then you start saying, okay, let's forget about the job. Now let's focus on my babies. So I think that's something that it's also very helpful because you rest of something and then you move forward and focus on the other area of your life that is going to be very helpful for you. And I know that a lot of things of being entrepreneur and being a mom, it's hard, right? What are the things that you think that are the hardest part of it, like of all of that?
The time management for sure was and continues to be the biggest one, just because I am still also juggling my full-time job, right? So being mindful of how I'm spending my time, and you absolutely hit it on the head. What you just said, being able to set time aside. Okay, this is my work time. I'm going to focus on my work. At the end of the day, you close your laptop. I'm going to focus on my babies. It took me a while to get to that point, to be able to set those boundaries, because I felt so guilty from physically taking myself away from my child. But I knew if I was ever going to get anywhere in this business, it needs to also be nurtured, right? It's like its own separate baby that you need to take care of, that you need to put time into. But because I was feeling so guilty stepping away from my children, I would just have my laptop with me and try to multitask. Normally, huge fan of multitasking when it comes to things that are related, right? If there's multiple things that I need to do in my business, I don't mind juggling all of that all at once. But when it comes to trying to take care of that and be present with your babies, it doesn't work. And I realized that, I would much rather have that conversation with them, with my partner, and say, mommy's going to step away for an hour or two. I'm just going to take care of some things. I have to work. This is why, blah, blah, blah. Have them understand that's why I'm leaving. Then for me to be, quote unquote, in the moment with them, but really just be on my laptop trying to multitask, being halfway there and halfway with them. And they're still trying to get my attention, because even though I'm on my laptop, they still see me, right? So they still want to engage with me. And I have to, kind of shut them out. Like, I can't do that right now. And I have to keep rejecting them or whatever, or keep putting my work aside and pausing my train of thought with whatever it is I'm trying to do there, it was very inefficient. But it took me a long time to get over that. And I think communication has been one of the biggest things that has been so helpful, just in terms of the family dynamic, especially if you go into a relationship and you're not already in whatever entrepreneurial journey you're in, right? For me, I was in my relationship, I had my daughter, and then I started my business. So the dynamic started changing. And with that, I had to figure out what that was going to look like, what our calendar was going to look like, what our dynamic within the family was going to look like. Because of course, if I'm walking away every so often, that means my partner has to step in a little bit more during those times. And I don't want him to feel like, oh, she's just putting her business aside or her family aside because all she cares about is her business. So it wasn't even just the mom guilt, it was the partner guilt that was coming into play too. And there was, if we're being completely transparent here, there was, of course, a rough patch with that. And we really had to take a step back and reflect. And I had to be really transparent and honest and authentic in the way that I was showing up and telling them why I was doing what I was doing. Because at first I was over here just trying to be Superwoman, trying to do it all at once, but I wasn't really letting people in with why I was doing what I was doing or even what I was doing, right? And then when I was able to have that conversation with my partner and really let him in on I am doing this for my family, and I was able to share my why with him. I'm doing this for my family. I'm doing this to create financial freedom, to create time freedom, so that I can spend more time with them, take them on all these trips that they want to do, and also just be a living example for them that they can pursue their dreams and that they're worthy of that. Then that just unloaded so much clarity in our relationship, and it has been tremendously better just because we were able to have that conversation. And I was also able to really reflect on that with my kids as well. So being really mindful of your why is really what's going to help you continue to push, because of course, as mothers, pretty much everything we do is for our babies, right? We were talking about carving out this time for yourself and looking at it as a form of self-love and filling your own cup and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, for any of the moms that are listening or any of the parents that are listening, at the end of the day, we want to support our children. And we're doing what we're doing so that we can be successful and support our children in the way that we want to support them, in the way that we want to show up for them. And that's really what keeps me going as well. That's what encourages me to keep being very open in my communication, to keep showing up in my business and recognizing this isn't as selfish as it feels. Because at the end of the day, I know that I'm going to be leaving my day job and I'm going to make something amazing. I'm going to have such a successful business. I'm going to do all the things that I want to do. And I'm going to create a life that not only I love, but that my family loves, and that allows me to spend that time with them. And I'm constantly going back to that of, why am I doing this? And the times where it gets hard and the time that the mom guilt creeps in, why am I doing this? I'm doing it for them. If it's really starting to weigh heavily down on you, have some grace with yourself. Step away from your business and really sit with your children and cherish that time with them. That's okay. Balance doesn't have to be so stringent, right? It doesn't have to be like you need to work 5 hours a day or else you're not going to be successful. If you really need to be in tune with how you're feeling in the moment and whatever it is you're needing. If you're needing time away from your children, from your family to take care of what you need to do, communicate that. If you're feeling really guilty and feeling really overwhelmed, spend that time with your babies. Get those hugs and get those cuddles in. I know that makes me feel so good, and it makes me feel so grounded. Another thing that I try to be mindful of is just practicing my gratitude, because not all of us have the opportunity to pursue our dreams, right? We have to work 2, maybe 3 jobs, or we grew up in those households where our mothers or fathers were working 3 jobs just to pay the bills. But as much as, I feel like I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off sometimes because there's so much to do at every hour of the day. I am so grateful that I have the opportunity to do it, that I still have my full-time job, even though I'm waiting to leave it. I'm so grateful that I have that job to help sustain me as I'm building this business, to help take care of my family in the meantime. I'm so grateful for these babies that occasionally drive me crazy, but like I said, they really ground me and they are the core of my why. And I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to pursue my passion, which is something that I've always seen myself doing. As mothers, it's funny because as mothers, we're always telling our kids, yes, dream big, follow your dreams, do what makes you happy. But then a lot of times the dynamic in the household is the parents that are saying that, they're not doing it for themselves, right? They've sacrificed their dreams to be able to afford their children those dreams. And while that's amazing, I'm not going to knock that by any means. I think the impact is so much more profound when you can really step in to the role of being a living role model of what you're preaching, right? I'm not just telling my girls anything is possible. I'm actually here standing up and showing up in that role and proving to them, if that's what you want, go out there and make it happen, baby girl. Like, it's possible for you. And the fact that I've been able to expose them to so many women doing that, like, that just like fills my heart up so much, because I feel like now the possibilities are endless for them and they've witnessed it firsthand.
Yes. I love that. I think you cover everything in just that. Because like you're saying to them, you can do it, and by showing them, and there's so little that for them that is going to be something normal. Like, my mom is doing it, so I can do it. Like, it's not something that they're gonna doubt, because they are going to be very confident about that, and that is so rewarding. Even if I know that after you have the baby, you have tons of emotions, hormones are everywhere, and you start saying, I don't know what to do, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to work and also be a mom. And I think that to get to that decision of what you want to do and try to make it happen is going to take a while. I know that for you, probably that was it, right? And communication, it's key as well, because probably us moms, like, and women in general, we are like, we can do everything. I don't need help. Like, I want to know people, to let people know that I'm okay, that I'm capable, that I can do everything by myself, that everything is okay. But is it really like that? Like, honestly, for me, I'm a perfectionist, and I hate that part of me sometimes, because I want to make everything by myself, because I know how to do it, not everyone else. But I think the mom part, when you are in that position, help is going to be also key. Communication and relying in others, it's also going to be very helpful for you to understand and make decisions, right? So I think what you said, it's so valuable, and it is going to take time for sure to get into that. I love to see what you have done in this area of your life, because it's not easy. It's not easy to get to that decision and be able to do it, but it is possible. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I am also someone that is accustomed to being a perfectionist. I feel like I've grown a lot from that time. So taking it back again to high school days when I was really like, okay, I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I actually thought I was going to be a fashion designer. And I had designed this shirt with just like fabric paint and like a homemade stencil. And I wore it to school one day, and then people were like ordering from me. They were, like verbal contracts, right? We're just kids at this point. And I never followed through with it because of my perfectionism, because I was like, I'm only going to put it out in the world if it's perfect. Otherwise, I don't even want to do it. And I ended up not even doing it. So with the business and, come 2021 with the launch of it and having so many things to do and wanting to show up in a certain way, it was hard kind of navigating the place of, let me do everything with every second of my day. I was sacrificing sleep. I was listening to podcasts in the car because I didn't have any other time to do it. I occasionally listened to podcasts at the gym. Well, when I was still going to the gym. It's been a while. And then I would stop my workout every now and then to, send a voice note or to make notes to myself of whatever it was that I was thinking of. I was really working like a 30-hour day in my 8 hours. And that's just going to lead to burnout, right? And I really had to be mindful of that. I think everyone kind of gets to that point of burnout and it's like, okay, this isn't working. But I will say that I am really proud of myself in that time for still being committed to showing up. Because I think that is often where mothers or parents kind of hesitate because they're not willing to put that time into their business just because they feel like they have to be with their children. But I was sacrificing sleep. I was trying to find all of the little ways. And when something is really important to you, you make time for it, okay? Even if you're sacrificing sleep, eventually you'll realize, okay, there has to be a better way. Let me figure that out. And over the years, that better way for me has really been having grace with myself and recognizing that there is power in simply showing up. When you're getting started, especially if you have no idea what you're doing, you're going to want to look to all of these other businesses and figure out what they're doing and try to do something similar, right? Try to copy their approach. Oh my gosh, they're posting every day. Oh my gosh, they're creating these reels. Oh my gosh, they have this really fancy website. I need to spend time making my website really amazing. It's overwhelming. It's a lot. And frankly, as parents, we don't always have the time to do that. So for me, it was really important to recognize, okay, even though all these social media gurus or whatever are telling me to do this, this, and this, I know that I can show up only in this capacity. I can't post every day, but maybe I can show up once a day, right? And I started giving myself grace in all of these little areas and recognizing that as long as I'm showing up, I'm recognizing the ripple effects that has. And taking that as a win, not beating myself up for, I am not showing up every day. I can't do this. I can't make a success out of this. But like, I showed up today. I showed up twice this week. That was amazing. That makes me feel really good. Like I can do this. Taking all of those little things and not taking it for granted. And again, being really mindful of how you're speaking to yourself too. The fact that you're showing up in whatever capacity is already a huge start to begin with. And then you start to feel like you start to recognize what you do have the capacity for. You're no longer trying to do everything all at once. You really learn how to prioritize your to-do list. What is going to make the most impact on my business? And realistically, what can I actually get done with the time that I have without sacrificing my sanity, my mental health, my time with my children that I hold so dear to my heart? how can I get that lined up? And again, if you are having those days where you're feeling those moments of, I'm just so overwhelmed, it's like I need to just figure out a way to get grounded again, take that time. It's okay. I think this is really where the feminine aspect comes into play, because we don't have to be so hard on ourselves, right? Prioritizing yourself, whether it's by working on your business, spending time with your children, spending time with neither of those things and being completely on your own, that is really what's going to help you. And just remembering that you're doing it for the big picture, right? You're doing it so you can continue to show up in the best way possible in all of those areas of your life. So now one of the things that I'm most proud about in my business is that it's been this very natural progression, and I don't hold such strict standards to myself anymore. But because I've been able to continue showing up when I can show up, and I'm having grace with myself, and I'm having gratitude, I'm practicing gratitude on a daily basis, and I'm celebrating all of my small wins, that's like compounding into this growth that we're now seeing. And I'm just leaning into that fully.
Yes, I think that's the key of trying to stay positive, like celebrating the small wins, like celebrating the small steps that you're taking. You don't have to have a list of a lot of things to do during the day. Probably just want to send one email. If you send that email that day, that's completely fine. That's perfect. But like you said, having that in your mind, saying, this is what I did today, and that's enough. It's going to help you be more flexible, I think, with all of the things that are involved in being a business owner and also being a mom or a parent. It is going to help you understand what you are capable of doing as well. And then that is fine to be not achieving all of the things that you want to achieve all in once, right? So I think that's very important. And also, like you said, and you send me this, filling your cup first, because then you're not going to be pouring anything into your kids or your business, because you're going to be empty, right? And that it's so important for us to say, okay, I need a moment. I need to refill my cup of water because I need time for myself, for me to be able to give what I can for others, right?
Right. And then just as your children are constantly growing, your business is constantly evolving, you're going to have to keep navigating what works best for you in that season. It's not always going to look the same. And that's okay. I think that's the beauty of the journey, right? Figuring out what works best for you in that moment. But just have faith in your journey and your vision that all the things that you want to create, all this time freedom that you want to create, you will get there as long as you continue to show up and continue to have grace with yourself. And I know we've been talking about, separating that time, carving out that time for yourself to work solely on your business, carving out that time to really spend with your kids. It doesn't always have to be a separate thing. Another fun thing has really been finding all of these ways where I can incorporate my children into what I'm doing. That's, again, not only just telling them, yes, anything is possible, follow your dreams, mommy is doing it, but come see what mommy's doing, come help me, come be a part of it. They've helped out with my markets. I'm actually taking them after this call to do a drop-off with some donations that we raised, because I also want them to see the impact that we're making to the community. They help me, pack orders sometimes, and it's really cool to have them be really involved. So it's all flexible. There are no hard rules to follow, especially when you're a parent. The fact that you're showing up, the fact that you even made the choice to pursue this dream that you have, it doesn't have to be completely life-changing, but the fact that you've made that decision, is probably one of the most profound decisions that you can ever make, because it's not only going to be better for you and for who you are as a person and your own development, but in the way that you teach your kids, because everything you're teaching yourself, this mindset that you're working on for yourself, or having grace with yourself, or being open to learning, all of that is going to trickle down to your children. So it really is about reframing that mom guilt. You might be stepping away, but why are you stepping away? Recognize all of those little things that are happening because you made that decision that might feel very selfish at first, but really isn't selfish, because you're allowing to show up in a way that is bigger than yourself. And you're allowing yourself to show up and make the impact that you were born to make. The impact on not only your own life, but your family's life, for the people that are around you that you're helping, regardless of, whatever it is that you do with your business, whether you have a community platform like myself and you're working to empower others, whether you have a product line that's making the lives easier for certain people, you're allowing yourself to make that choice, to make that impact to everyone around you. And it really isn't selfish at all.
Yes, I love that. I think you say it all. I'm like, okay, I need to learn a lot from you. This is a new chapter of my life, and I know that the mom guilt is such a topic that everyone talks about. But like you say, reframe that and say, why don't you focus on the positive things? And I'm a truly believer that the only thing constant in life is change. And I know that kids are going to change. You're going to have a newborn, and then you're going to have a toddler. And the needs are going to be changing. And your business is like a baby too, right? It's going to be progressing. It's going to be changing. So adapt. It's part of it, like adapting to changes, adapting to the needs of what you have now, what you are currently living now, and just enjoy the process and the beauty of it, right? And that's something that probably it's going to take a while. It's not easy, but I think it's possible for everyone.
Absolutely. It's not easy, but like you said, it is a beautiful journey. And just appreciate every aspect of it, the highs, the lows, all of it. It really is leading to something even more incredible. And again, for everyone that's listening or watching, you are so worthy of creating that life, and you can have it all. You can be a really incredible parent and also be an amazing boss and doing the dang thing, whatever it is that you're doing. You can really be that role model and that living example that it can be done, and you are just so deserving of it. So I hope you all have some grace with yourself and continue pursuing all of those big dreams that you're telling your children to pursue.
Thank you. Oh, I loved it. Thank you so much, Krystal. There you have, everyone, my conversation with Krystal. Go check out her business and Krystal in the link of the show notes. If you hope, I hope you find this episode helpful. Please don't forget to subscribe and give us a follow. And if you like the episode, please share it with other parents. I know that a lot of people is going to find this episode very useful and helpful. Thank you for being here, and until next time. And if you're interested to learn more about Inventora to help streamline communication with your team members to keep track of your business's inventory stock levels, visit Inventora.com.